Hello all my Kinvians and welcome to a new episode of Discovering Steven Universe. After the essential finale of the, what I'm considering the three-part series for, basically the homeworld gyms coming, and then obviously last episode ending with Steven coming clean, but that's besides the point. Today, the episode I'm going to be watching is Joyride, and I've actually had at least one person tell me that this is one of their favorite episodes, so I'm interested to see why. I mean, especially after, everything that happened recently, I'd really like to know what's going on that makes this, such a great episode for, again, at least one person. I'm pretty sure there might have been even more. But let's get right into it with Joyride. I need to get a shield. Yeah, I need to get like the Steven Universe shield. It probably only comes in kids sizes though.
Hey, Steven.
The cool kids.
What? Who told you?
You looked a million miles away, man.
Oh, sorry. I was zoning out.
We'll catch you later then.
I gotta say, I do find it interesting that, these older kids, they like hanging out with Steven so much. He's so much younger.
So my hands have calluses. Working man's burden is truly a heavy one.
Especially when you don't have all the added strength of the gyms. Pizza Ray.
No pizza.
My stepdad was all on my case again today saying, I'm just like, I don't want to be a fisherman.
Oh, his stepdad is... His stepdad is Onion's dad.
I'm the mayor's son, and I'm like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm the mayor's... Wait.
You're just walking in cake with that. I found out that the gems are alien rebels and that there are other gems out in space that want us dead because they think we're traitors. And they tried to take me hostage because they think I'm my mom. And maybe I kind of am. I wish I could talk to Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl about it, but I think they kind of blame me for my mom not being around.
What an expression.
You're a real champ, Steve.
Jenny, I'm serious. So am I. Sour cream, what about you?
Sure.
It takes selfies very seriously.
Nah.
I got funny stickers.
That was adorable.
How do I look after I jump that haystack? Yeah!
Paradox in the haystack. It's a pretty solid haystack.
It's not actually...
Oh dear God. Oh, thank cartoon logic.
And if you think you're safe here, well, I've got news for you. You lost. Now,
Got it!
Oh crap.
get off my planet.
Stop! Steven's in there.
Oh, good. Effective.
Hey, cut him some slack.
It's not his fault.
Just let him be a DJ. I don't know what's going
Break us out of space jail.
Steve, you're ungrounded from TV.
Aww.
I'm invincible.
Okay. Oh. Okay. That was a pretty sweet ending, I have to say. Okay, well, let me get this close first of all. There we go. All right, so yeah, you know what? No delay. I'm going to get right to the notes, and I'll be back with you all in just a moment for the review segment of this video. See you in just a minute. Alright everyone, welcome back. It is time for the review segment for Joyride. And let's get right into it with my favorite parts. Starting with the fact that Steven and the Gems, you know, busy at work, essentially cleaning up all the parts for the shattered spaceship, which honestly, I was a little bit confused by that because I thought that more of it had already been cleaned up, since when well, at the end of the previous episode, they're driving through town, and we see, like, it doesn't seem like there's really any of the parts of the spaceship left in town, except for what Ronaldo is dragging. I almost forgot his name. But, like, what he's dragging around. That seemed like the only part left, really. Again, at least in the town. So I thought that maybe they'd already done the cleanup, or at least most of the cleanup, but seemingly it, you know, that's not the case. But I don't know, I found the aspect of, like, all the Gems putting in this hard work, like getting these huge pieces out. What they're gonna do with it, I have no idea. Maybe they'll make it part of their base. But, like Steven, again, he is strong for a human, but when it comes to that kind of stuff, like, he has to use a shovel, and Garnet's able to, like, lift something 5 times her size, whereas Steven, like, struggles with something about that big. I really like that aspect of it. My next favorite part of this episode is honestly the Cool Kids. The first episode where they were introduced, and Lars and the Cool Kids, I don't know, I found them, you know, I found them interesting, but overall just kind of, characters, like, okay, they're the Cool Kids. Great. But in this episode, we kind of learn a little bit more about them, but they actually relate to Steven. They show empathy. They stand up for him. And there was just a lot of aspects about that I really, really liked. One thing that, when each of the Cool Kids do their own bit about complaining about their family, it was pretty funny. Is it Jenny or Jessie? I'm forgetting all of a sudden. I think it's Jenny. But, like, when she's talking about having a sister, it's like, when are you gonna get it? I'm the evil twin. And it's because, you know, that's kind of the opposite of what the kind of discussion most people would seem to have when, you know, going over that kind of stuff. But then Sour Cream, he's the one that starts it off. Going from fish, like, you know, what doesn't smell like freedom, to a DJ rant. And it caught me off guard, but it did make sense after it got more into the rant, talking about his stepdad being a fisherman and all that. So that made sense, but at the time, as he starts talking about it, it's just like, how did we get to talking about being a DJ from fish? It just, I don't know, I like that aspect. It caught me off guard, so again, I just really like that. But then also, a huge part of this is the fact that Steven felt comfortable enough to open up about the Gems and what had happened, and the fact that, you know, he may kind of be his mom. Just all of this stuff that most people, now you hear someone talking about something even remotely like that, you're gonna think they're one, insane, and probably laugh at them. Now, obviously, this is a world where, you know, monsters and everything happen in Peach City, so there's a little bit more relatability in that degree, but what we get, instead of any of them laughing or cracking a joke about it or anything like that, is like we get this shot of just all of their eyes huge, And then it's like, Jenny says, did she say that's deep or is that heavy? I think she says that's heavy. Whatever it is, but it's like, they don't make fun of him. They don't think he's a weirdo. They talk about how, wow, you always seem so upbeat. It's like they can't imagine, someone like Steven, being brought down. It's like, feeling down about all this stuff, feeling like having so much on his mind and on his shoulders. I loved that. I honestly did, and it brought me to have this appreciation for the characters, for the cool kids, even though I never can remember the one with the shades name. But yeah, I really did like that aspect of it. And then again, to comment about the fact that they stand up to the gems about Steven. Well, first of all, Jenny almost gets whacked in the face by Garnet, trying to stop them, but the gems get on to Steven, and it's, it makes sense because he should have reported back to them. He should have taken the pod back to them, or at the very least taken them to the pod. But they were right. He is a kid. He needs to be able to have fun. Everybody needs to be able to have fun from time to time, now, no matter how old you are. And although he is very happy-go-lucky in the show, let's face it, the character Steven has had a whole lot of horrible stuff going on. And despite his sunny disposition, that can really weigh on a person. So yeah, I absolutely loved the cool kids in this episode. But moving on from there, I feel like I talked about them forever. My next favorite part is when they found Peridot's escape pod in the field. And, I mean, I honestly did almost expect to see Peridot for the slightest moment, but I guess maybe it's too early in the second season for like anything really big to happen. But I don't know. I guess in my mind, the escape pod would have been just, it's something that escapes. It has minimal controls as far as navigation to where Peridot landed. But at the same time, apparently it is not only controllable, but it has weapons. And it's a freaking escape pod. So yeah, it was just insane in that way. But I don't know, it's like it was great seeing, again, Steven having fun with it, running around, playing with the cool kids as far as that goes. But then it just goes crazy. And it was, like, when that happens, it was admittedly more intense than I expected. But then again, it also is homeworld gem technology. Whereas most of the things that kind of go crazy are, they could hurt people, but they're usually somewhat controllable. Whereas this is new technology that Steven and the crystal gems have never really messed with. So like the fact that it all of a sudden goes into this, I don't know if it's like a self-defense mode or what it was exactly, but it just, I honestly thought it was going to kill the cool kids at one point, and I'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, the escape pod itself, I found that really interesting, and that brings us to where the gems attack the pod, and it's, I know with it being it's Steven Universe. Steven is the main character of the show, so it's extremely unlikely, especially this early into the second season, that anything really bad is going to happen to him. So the fact that the gems were attacking the pod and like Garnet was getting ready to shatter it with her gauntlet is like, it felt tense at the time just because they couldn't hear or see him. But at the same time, the back of my mind, there was that feeling of, he's going to be okay, right? Of course, who knows, at some point, you all know better than I do at this point, at some point, something may happen to Steven that I guess we'll find out whether or not he's able to poof. Yeah. But yeah, just like the attack itself was really interesting, and you know, ending again with like Jenny running right in front of Garnet's punch. That was just, it was really intense. And I kind of broke these up into two parts, but essentially my final favorite parts of this episode are, one, the adorable fact that Steven is ungrounded from TV. And how long was he originally grounded for? Was it like 1,000 years or something like that? But yeah, he gets ungrounded from TV, which was adorable in and of itself. But then the episode ends with selfies. And I mean, the final one is someone taking a picture of sour cream, taking another rock. He has an obsession with rocks, I guess, but like hitting the pod with it, and then like they threw a sticker on there, and I think it was like Earth Forever or Earth Rules, something like that. And that was a really fun way to end the episode, including the fact that the crystal gems actually got into the selfie aspect of it. I may actually go back and rewatch the end of the episode just to see, because it was hard where the pictures flashed so quick. I wasn't really able to take everything in. I really want to see the facial expressions of them, because I expect Amethyst to, you know, being goofy, Garnet being very stoic, and then Pearl probably just being confused. But yeah, I mean, all of those were just great parts of this episode that I really did enjoy. Now, I did have an annoyance with this episode, and it's mostly just because of personal confusion. And it's that when Steven takes the pod to jump over the haystack, like, he bounces off of the haystack. And I can only assume that that pod is fairly heavy. I mean, considering the material of what they're picking up off the beach is, it's like I would assume that the pod itself is pretty heavy. But the haystack, it doesn't move. Like, we don't really see any hay coming off of it. It seems pretty solid. So when he did bounce off of it, like, the first thought in my mind was, okay, maybe Peridot, because I made the joke, it's like, Peridot's going to be in the haystack. I thought for a second, maybe she was, but then nothing actually came of that. So I don't know, it was just kind of, I don't know, sometimes cartoon logic is just really weird, and I know it's a cartoon, so you can't put real world logic to it in all circumstances. It seemed strange to me. It's like when he was going to jump over the haystack, but then he bounced off of it, I would have expected, like, okay, he didn't quite make the jump, so the haystack just goes flat. That would have made more sense to me. That actually brings me to, I didn't expect to have it in this episode, a moment of terror for this episode. And I guess it was possible because of the fact that that haystack was so solid, but when the pod is going crazy and shooting its lasers, and the cool kids hide behind the haystack, and then we see the laser like cut through it essentially, and then it explode. We see that the cool kids, like, they're okay, they're just terrified behind the haystack. And I mean, my moment of terror there was, I mean, again, it's a laser, it's cutting through things. Again, I know it's silly of me to think this because it's a kid show, but I honest to God thought that they were going to die or something really bad was going to happen to them. So it's like that legitimately, like, I don't know whether or not it showed in the reaction, but yeah, but that was a moment where it's like I was very thankful for the cartoon logic, where it's, you know, usually the kind of deal where it's like, you know, solid object in front of people, that takes the damage, even though it's made of hay, and the people behind it are okay. It's like, you know, that's one of those points where cartoon logic works. Or maybe that haystack was just way more solid than I thought it was. Oh, but yeah. Again, I did not expect to have a moment of terror this soon after that big 2-parter / 3-parter. But there you go. Before I move on, as always, everyone, please do let me know some of your own favorite parts of this episode, if you had any annoyances, and whether or not you agree with my moment of terror. I'd actually like to hear your thoughts on some of the cartoon logic and how it applies. Because, again, it's when it comes to cartoons, you expect cartoon logic to be in there, but at the same time, it's like I can't help but in the moment apply some real world logic to it. So there you go with that. Now, as for my track of the episode, the music that was playing, and it had a pretty rock tune to it. It was when Steven was having fun with the cool kids. Maybe that's what the name of the track is, having fun with the cool kids. I have no idea. But yeah, that was a really good track. I really enjoyed that. So there you go, track of the episode for me. Other than the ending now, which again, I love the vocals in the end credits now. And I am going to do my best to make sure I listen to them from now on. Now, as for quotes of the episode, the first one comes from Sour Cream, and I referenced this earlier. But it's, you know what food definitely doesn't smell like freedom? You know what food definitely doesn't smell like freedom? Fish. It's just such a strange line. Part of me just couldn't help but have that as a quote. But then my next favorite quote of the episode, and this is probably the big one, I would say. It's when Steven is opening up to the cool kids, and he says, and he's talking about how he thinks he could be his mom, or the Homeworld Gems thinks he's his mom, and he could be. But I wish I could talk to Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl about it, but I think they kind of blame me for my mom not being around. And I mean, obviously, in the moment, I didn't really have much time to reflect on that because it cuts straight to the cool kids and their eyes are just gigantic. But that actually leads me, incorporated with the quote of the episode, that leads me to my question for this episode, and that is, do the Crystal Gems blame Steven for Rose not being around? Now, again, she gave up her physical form so that Steven could be born. He has her gem. So much to the fact that Jasper thought that Steven was Rose. Maybe still does think that Steven is Rose. But I know we've seen a little bit of it come out, with Pearl and her talking about Rose, Rose's scabbard in that episode. It's like there was a lot of tension around that before, and reference to Pearl missing Rose. And then even in other things, Maximum Capacity, Amethyst talks about how Rose isn't around anymore and all that. So it's like I can see references to the idea that they are upset. Pearl is probably the one that I would consider the most possibly that blames Steven for Rose not being around. But at the same time, it's just a huge question in my head surrounding this, and maybe something that will be clarified or maybe even answered going forward. And it's that, do the Crystal Gems blame Steven for Rose not being around? And I mean, that by itself it goes beyond heavy responsibility on your shoulders. Like, that's guilt for living. Yeah, I don't know. That's a big question that I hope we get some more clarification on going forward, because I mean that may be something that keeps bugging me. We'll have to wait and see. But moving on from there, I do also have a theory regarding this episode, and it's why Peridot was not around. My theory is that she is searching for the kindergarten, or she is trying to find her way to the kindergarten, because that was part of the mission. From what I remember, yeah, I'm pretty sure Peridot mentioned the kindergarten and going to reactivate it, I think it was. So, again, that's my assumption. So if the crystal gems go back to the kindergarten at some point, perhaps that will be where we see Peridot again. Or maybe not, I don't know. That, again, that's just my theory as far as that goes. But as for my overall thoughts on this episode, I loved it. I honestly did. I love the fact that I came to enjoy the cool kids as much as I did. And just the overall plot of the story, it was so simple. It was about Steven being able to have fun, to be able to act like a kid and not have to worry about it for a little while. And I really enjoyed that. I really, really did. And it showed, it helped the gems understand that, oh, okay, yes, he should have brought it, but he is just a kid. And they've said themselves before that they don't know what he needs. It's like there's never been anything like Steven before. There's never been a human gem combination. So, yeah, I don't know what to say other than that. It just, it was a really, really good episode. So, those of you that consider this episode one of your favorites, I can see why, for sure. I really, really can. And coming up next will be an episode called Love Letters, which, I don't know, maybe Steven and Connie start writing love letters back and forth to each other. Seems kind of strange, but maybe. I'm sure I'm probably way, way off too. But yes, so that'll be the next episode, Love Letters. Everyone, I thank you again so much for being here for this episode of for this episode of Discovering Steven Universe. My ADHD meds have worn off. Can you not tell? And yeah, I will see you all next time. Oh, and one quick thing. For any of you that might be interested, I do have the Patreon, and I do my best to give a shout out in the credits every time at the end of the videos for all the videos on this channel. And if you would like to see some of the upcoming videos before they're released, when I'm able to, but if you would like to see episodes early, I basically share them with the Patreon, or the patrons on the Patreon, as soon as they become available. For as little as $1 a month, becoming a patron, you can get access to, all my videos. Again, available as soon as they're uploaded, or after they're uploaded. They're available to you all and, free to watch up until, they go public, at which point everyone can see them. But that's just something to think about if you're at all interested. But I will end it there. Until next time, everyone, I am Papa Ken, and I will see you for Love Letters. Until then, if every pork chop was perfect, there wouldn't be hot dogs. Yep. I don't know why I did that.